The Alternative is back right here again on the channel. Colin, what's going on? Episode 3 has made its way. Episode 3 of Dynamite also is in the books. We're on schedule. Sorry for the delay for episode 2, but this week, as planned, we are here. It is now. Colin, what's going on, man? How you been? Where can everyone catch you?
I've been doing good. I think AEW Dynamite this week, probably the best episode I've seen so far. Not a whole lot to judge on. There's only been 3, but I digress. I'm glad to be back every week. You can follow me on Twitter at @UberTieGuy. Always talking wrestling over there.
Yeah, that's it. You just stopped.
It's funny because like most people who do these kind of things have like 2 or 3 things they plug, and I'm like, I have one, and it's always so awkward when it cuts off because it's like it sounds like I'm about to say something else, and then absolutely nothing. I don't know. Follow me on Instagram, UberTieGuy, but there's an underscore between each word. Go for it.
Excuse me, I think they get the gist. You're already making me choke laughing over here. We're not alone, though, Colin. We are not alone. For the first time ever, our very first guest, popping that Heyman right here on the show. From Never Drew a Dime, Pro Wrestling Journal podcast. You know him, you love him, Drew Ortman. What's going on, man? Welcome to The Alternative. How you doing? Where can everyone catch you? He's quite a bit more unplugged than his Instagram, I hope.
Hi.
Yo!
So, hey guys, thanks for having me here. At Drew Ortman on Twitter, at PW Journal for the Pro Wrestling Journal podcast on Twitter, at KFabe Today, ProWrestlingJournal.com, PW Journal on Instagram. There's a MySpace somewhere to go, I think. I don't know. But thanks for having me. I'm excited. Talk some AEW graps with you fine gentlemen.
And sorry if the You Know Him, You Love Him was kind of weird. Looking back, retrospect, I don't know. It just kind of came out. You Know Him, You Love Him, Drew Ortman.
Like
Another t-shirt.
I think that's on my business card.
For sure. God knows it would be on mine if I came up with it for myself. As always on Twitter at the Hibiki TMD. That red button right now, hit it down below. God damn it, do it for all the best retro gaming and pro wrestling goodness. Speaking of goodness, once again, very little to complain about. Guilty as charged. I'm going to say it out of the gate. Episode 3 Dynamite, solid episode, gentlemen. Another good Wednesday of wrestling this week as opposed to Monday and Friday. It's like this fucking Oreo we're in where it's just this goodness in the middle, but the 2 outsides are made of dog shit.
You don't like the outside of an Oreo?
If it was made of dog shit completely, I wouldn't. No.
I mean, if you dunk the dog shit in milk, it's delightful.
Yeah, just get a little squishy.
Ugh. I got nothing already.
Speaking of squishy, back to you, Travis.
Baron Corbin. Excuse me, King Corbin. From Philadelphia this week, shout out real quick our good buddy Jim from Drink a Beer, a beer, a game on YouTube, at Drink a Beer, Play a Game on Twitter. Attended Dynamite last night, said it was a good time, even though traffic was a mess. AEW, man, I don't know what's going on. Apparently there was tons of rerouting issue. Jim even told me that he left almost 3 hours early. He still didn't get it in there till like after the second match. I do got to give WWE one thing. I will say this, for every time I've attended the house show, a Raw, a WrestleMania, getting to WrestleMania, it was all very organized. I never really had a problem with traffic. The only time I really did was we waited 45 minutes after WrestleMania, which, I mean, there was 80,000 people. People were stranded with the Ubers with that nightmare this year. But AEW, man, and I get it, they're a new promotion, but from all accounts, from what Jim, and I've seen other people tweet, the reply to Jim and just other shit, it was a mess. Colin, what do you think about that?
I mean, I went to. It's funny. We did not say a word about it last week's episode, but I went to Hell in a Cell in Sacramento a couple weeks ago, and yeah, it was fairly simple. I mean, the parking around the arena not too bad. Foot traffic wasn't bad either. Waited in line, got in pretty simple. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it's because like it's AEW is so popular now, and like it's starting out, everyone wants to get in there, everyone wants to be there, so it's bound to happen.
Yeah. I mean, you can't win them all. Eventually, it's bound to happen. Drew, you have any nightmare experiences with WWE show traffic-wise in your day?
How do you ever have? Not WWE, but I went to Double or Nothing, and I had no traffic problems. I also had no car.
That always helps soften the blow, I guess, even if you did have traffic problems. If you're riding shotgun, it's kind of, you got a switch, or you got a phone.
Yeah, right. If you're taking Uber or Lyft, you can kind of not worry about it.
You got a phone, you can read those hot Brad Shepard takes instantly. Right there. Would you both agree, umbrella factor, before we get into anything that happened this week on Dynamite? And again, thank you, Jim, for letting us share your photos from your trip to Dynamite this week. Guys, get over there, hit subscribe, check them out. Solid guys, solid reviews, solid content. Drink a beer, play a game, YouTube. But guys, I feel like everyone can agree this is another good episode of Dynamite, hands down.
100%.
Agreed. Absolutely.
I like how it kind of started off a little more chaotic this week. This may be the most chaotic possibly we've seen an episode kick off with. It was supposed to be in the tag title tournament, right? SCU and the Best Friends. Sorry.
I like
you don't like the Best Friends, Travis.
This match was really good, and it's the gimmick. I mean, they can do the best, but sometimes I'm just like, you guys know how I feel about the name, the creativity in the name, and just, I don't know. What are casuals going to take away from this?
I think they just see a simplistic tag team where it's like they're best friends. Like the name and their characters just sell themselves.
Do they hold hands, or does he hold him by the wrist, Drew?
Oh no, they hold hands, man.
Yeah,
they go all out.
I think they're real best friends.
I feel like it's only a matter of time before they get sued for the SCU trademark too, because I feel like there was a T-shirt with Stone Cold University back in the day, and it said SCU.
All I know is both of them have theme music that I don't necessarily think that I love, but it gets stuck in my head every time I hear them.
I really like PNP's new music, and I don't know if I should. That's the thing.
My God, mark it in the history books. Travis just called them PNP and not LAX.
Progress, man. Episode 3. You see? It's working. At least this time they had a proper fucking Titantron introduction and all that. So I said Titantron. See?
Yeah, I like their whole entrance. That was good. That was actually their entrance was the first time I really all together. I'd seen enough of them to notice that AEW has a real distinct production value to what they do, and it's simple, and I like it. For entrances, anyways.
It's not like overkill, gaudy type, hokey thing.
Yeah.
Like
nice videos, simple music, not overdone, like doing the same thing down the ramp every time kind of thing.
Right. Skateboards.
I do like that. Yeah.
I do too. Hopefully they don't get with their graphics and stuff like that with like spaghetti and worms and holograms in the ring and chocolate cake and whatever the hell that was supposed to be with Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania a couple years ago. Either way, SCU attacked during their entrance right here. Christopher Daniels taken out with that nasty package pile driver from Pentagon, and just the crowd. Who are they? The heels or the faces? First of all, I'm probably going to say this a lot on this episode. That's a lot of guys I feel like. Are the Lucha Bros heels or faces, Colin?
I was having the same question when I was watching this, and I mean, to me, they seem like heels. I mean, they're gonna get cheered regardless because everyone loves the Lucha Brothers. But I mean, they're attacking SCU, they're attacking all the favorites and everything like that. To me, they seem like heels.
Drew.
Yeah, definitely heels, like fan favorite heels. Like sometimes you can even say and not they're over with everybody. So yeah, the Lucha Brothers are definitely more heelish, and I think they're trying to present them as heels, but everybody likes them.
I feel like they're AEW's version of the Briscoes with masks. They're these nasty heel brother tag teams, but you don't want to boo them because what's there to boo?
That's a really good comparison. I'm
in agreement. I feel like they're heels, but cool heels. And this was, I thought this was a really, I don't want to say unique because WWE's done it this way before, but I thought I didn't expect this, and it was nice to see something I didn't expect in wrestling in 2019.
Absolutely. I as far as like that all goes, like it definitely sets up. Like this episode they've been really good with setting up a lot of future storylines.
Do you feel like this was their attempt also to make a new singles star? Is Scorpio Sky supposed to be the breakout of SCU? Because, of course, he filled in dress pants, I think he was wearing, went all out there in his slacks and filled in. They had a kick-ass tag match, man. I can't say anything for it. And I feel like this was to really showcase Scorpio Sky, Drew.
Yep, I think that was blueprinted. I think that was actually absolutely to plan. And you can kind of tell like little hints throughout that they've kind of been. I think he's kind of always been on their mind as like a breakout star that could be something more.
And of course, you know, one of my moments of the year, he threw his shoe into the crowd and they threw it back and the place went crazy. It reminded me of that ECW show when they threw the shirt back at Cena, but they don't hate Scorpio in this, you know, scenario.
They just want him to have his shoe. They were worried. That's all.
Yeah.
I think SCU hands down easily one of the best tag teams there is today. I mean, there's really no doubt about that. But especially with what happened with Scorpio Sky and everything, you know, Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, they're not. They can still work. Like, don't get me wrong. I mean, Christopher Daniels is 49 years old and is still pulling off that moonsault like he's Charlotte Flair. So, and Kaz is 42. I don't know how old Scorpio Sky is, but he's definitely got the younger age going with him. He could easily be a single star, backed by SCU or on his own.
Speaking of that, you know who stood out to me in this match also? Trent Beretta. Excuse me. I don't know if that's pretentious because he still goes by Beretta, but Trent Beretta, right? There's no reason that guy shouldn't be a single star yesterday. And I feel like, and I'm not on the Cornette train with the Chuck Taylor hate because I feel like he can work. There's a difference.
Scorpio Sky, 36 years old.
Crazy, right? Yeah, I just feel like Trent Beretta, he could be a breakout singles guy, and I think in a way the Best Friends is holding him back. I know that it's early in the promotion to say that, but he could be an experiment like Sean Spears. Why not take a risk? Like we were saying off air, see what sticks. It's a new promotion. Whatever's over right now, you kind of got to go with it, whether you like it or not.
If I recall correctly, when Jay White in New Japan was the IWGP United States Championship, also shout out to my boy Lance Archer, winning his first singles title in like his whole career. Fantastic guy. When Jay White was champion, I believe he had a singles match for the championship with Trent Beretta. And I recall it being a very good match. So I fully believe Trent Beretta could easily be a single star on his own.
What'd you think of this match, Drew, and the choice to go with SCU here?
I thought it was a good match. I thought the choice to go with SCU was good because, like we've been talking about, if they're going with Scorpio Sky as like a breakout star, then they got to win and kind of have that moment. And then them advancing in the tournament, I mean, you can't go wrong. The veteran team, and they're going against who do they get in the next round?
I think
Lucha Brothers.
Yeah.
Well, I think Private Party is facing.
No, yeah, wait. They set up the angle with Lucha Brothers, basically, but they did. I don't think they have them in the tournament.
So SCU Dark Order then on that side. So
yeah,
I mean,
that's the one.
For Dark Order to be like, you know, it'll be a good fit to get SCU in there and they'll be able to do anything at that point.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. Colin, good choice here. SCU. As I feel like on episode 1, you and I kind of predicted as our dark horse is SCU to take this whole thing, if I'm right.
SCU definitely is in the conversation to win. I'm still kind of hoping Private Party is the one. I think my final was Private Party versus SCU. I still want to see that match. I still think we'll get that match, and I think Private Party is going to win the whole thing. That might be wishful thinking, but I think Private Party and SCU in the finals would be just a phenomenal match. Private Party's obviously proven that they can go. They had a fantastic match with the Young Bucks. SCU already proven tag team, so it'll be a good match regardless of who it is.
And now that I think about it, honestly, I feel like now that I'm seeing that SCU's up against the Dark Order already, I feel like I can see Dark Order and Private Party in the finals, honestly.
That's been like the rumor for it.
I don't know. We'll see what they do. Up next was more tag action, guys, but it wasn't in the tournament. It's to showcase Jesus Christ, it is late over here. 2 of the newest members of the Inner Circle, Santana Ortiz, proud and powerful. I gotta say, this might be a hot take.
Is that their team name?
Proud and powerful.
That's the team name.
I know it sounds like a women's fucking, I don't know, fragrance. No, I feel like, is it a hot take to think that they should be swapped out with Lucha Bros to give that group kind of more credibility? I would have put Lucha Bros in the Inner Circle instead of LAX.
I guess I could go either way in my head.
Yeah, like either way, both teams I think would be a good fit. But I think LAX does kind of like they look right with the team. I think Sammy Guevara is the one that kind of like sticks out a little bit to me.
Either way, I hope we get an LAX and Lucha Bros feud down the line. Because I really,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I'm sure we will.
This was a squash match, though, totally to show. Going up against Alex Reynolds and John Silver, who, for two, let's say it, enhancement job guys, whatever you want to call them, they didn't look bad.
Apparently, I saw a video. Apparently, these two teams have faced before in the past.
CZW, Evolve, and PWG. See, I got my shit together this week, guys. Got a whole format. I'm actually, shout out to ProWrestlingJournal.com. I'm using them as bullet points here with their review. Get over there, check it out. But yeah, I don't think they looked like enhancement guys. Like that, I could see those guys just by their look, Colin. They could have been in this tournament.
Absolutely. I think yeah. I wasn't too familiar with Alex Reynolds and Johnny Silver. I know they've been in a couple of different promotions. Johnny Silver has wrestled for NXT, ROH, and now AEW. So I mean, making a name for himself there. Yeah, the thing is I liked about this is it was a squash match, but it didn't have that. Like, it wasn't like a 20-second like boom, hit your finish and get out of there. They gave it a chance where it was a squash match. But Reynolds and Silver looked good and could have put up a fight.
Right. But in the end, they were just too much fun. And I love their finish, the street sweeper.
It's awesome.
It's good shit. And you know what? I love it, man. I love the zaniness of Ortiz chewing on the top rope for dinner, Drew, and just all that goodness.
I mean, Rick Steiner. He's Rick Steiner.
It's a nice throwback thing to do. We haven't seen in a while. Just that who gives a shit attitude out there. Because the top rope's probably disgusting to taste. Let's be honest.
Probably didn't taste the best.
No, just like armpits. Let's be real. It's one of those. But after the match, on their way up the ring, we get a little interruption from the heavyweight champ, Chris Jericho. And this was what it was. The crowd was into it, I feel like. What did you think of this little promo by Jericho here, Colin?
I liked it. Jericho, on behalf of PNP, issued a challenge to the Young Bucks for Full Gear. I think LAX versus the Young Bucks, I've seen it before. I'm more than happy to see it again. It's going to be a great match.
Yeah. Do you think Jericho's done a good job as the top heel, just top guy so far, Drew? Almost a
100%.
month in. Me too. I feel like without
100%.
Jericho, I shudder to think where it would be kind of, I don't want to say credibility-wise, but who's the other biggest face? Ambrose, right? Or Moxley. Jesus Christ. Whatever you want to call him.
And that's a good example, too, that I was about to say. Look at those two guys and their promos so far. Like, all of them have been just, like, really awesome and not outrageous sounding and not awkward sounding. And I think that's what's making it even better.
I don't know. It feels like, Colin, it feels like Santana and Ortiz shouldn't fit in with a stable with Jericho, but somehow it kind of works.
It 110% works. I think they're a great team, and that's the thing. Everyone in that, well, I don't know. I haven't seen Jack Swagger wrestle in 5 years, so who's to say if he's any good or not? Still, who's to say he was ever good? But yeah, no, I think also real quick news about that. I saw an article today that apparently Jake Hager is not going to wrestle in AEW until after his next Bellator fight on the 25th. So that's why he hasn't been wrestling. So maybe in a couple weeks we'll finally get some. I think the Jake Hager and Darby Allin match, which we'll get to why that would be a thing later. I think that'll be a good match for both of them. So
I bet the first one will be with who was it? He was fighting Hangman.
Oh yeah, that would definitely be that would be a good one too. But yeah, no, I think the Inner Circle, they just work. They look like some thrown together guys that wouldn't have anything in common if you just kind of saw them on the streets. But that's why they work.
I would have been fine with it just being Jericho and Proud and Powerful, to be honest. Just his two hired henchmen that he sees the future in, just these two ruthless guys. Like, I feel Sammy Guevara, I'm kind of on the fence on, like you, Colin, and Hager. We'll see, right? But I feel like I would have been just fine.
Yeah, they haven't done much.
Yeah, I would have been just fine as a trio.
Travis, real quick, and Drew, I want to get your opinions on this because this didn't get as much kind of like traffic as I thought it would, but it is worth mentioning. In the new Jay and Silent Bob reboot, Chris Jericho is in the movie.
Yeah.
And he plays, you know where I'm going with this. He plays the KKK.
He plays Hulk Hogan.
Right. He plays the KKK Grand Wizard in the movie. And Chris Jericho sent out a tweet kind of hyping the movie up. It was a link to an Instagram post he made. And the beginning says, the cat's out of the bag, except cats is spelled KKKATS. And then he hashtags KKK. This did not get nearly as much wait a minute, this isn't okay traffic as I thought it would. But I'm curious what you guys think about, this brand new company's world champion kind of advertising for the KKK in a sense.
It's ballsy. You got to give him that. It was meant to turn heads, and I feel like it was kind of a wet fart.
And the fact that he can relate it back to the movie, I think it's okay.
Right. Is it more of a shot at Terry?
I mean, you do have a direct line.
That's supposed to be brother.
Ask him.
He's definitely not he's awake, but he's indisposed, I'm sure, doing something on God knows what. No, I saw that, and it was jaw-dropping when I saw it. I didn't see his tweet of it, but I saw someone tweet about it and had a screenshot. I was like, what? First, I kind of thought it was a Photoshop, like it wasn't real. But it is what it is. Jericho's got good comedic timing. I saw him on that sketch, a week or two ago, something like that. Where it was that stand-up guy was America's Got Talent or some shit like that, and it was pretty good. Just the handicapped comedian guy. I don't know if you guys saw that. Kind of looks like Seth Rogen, but handicapped. Riho and Britt Baker after a Cody vignette here. I got to be honest. She hasn't been in the. I'm trying. She hasn't been in the business long. This was the best Britt Baker match I've probably seen, but for nothing, guys. The beginning of this match was painful. I'm sorry.
And you know what? It was very green looking and lots of mechanical problems, but even with that, somehow they were able to hype it up. By the time it was over,
right?
I was surprised.
They salvaged it.
For what it's worth, Britt Baker has never been on TV before. She didn't go through any kind of developmental thing like NXT or anything like that. I don't think she's ever been on Impact or Ring of Honor or something like that. I don't think she's ever been on TV. So this is her first, she's just kind of been thrown out there. So I can definitely understand why she's probably focusing and trying to analyze okay, got to look at this camera, got to make sure I do this in this direction, stuff like that. So I think once she kind of gets into the swing of things with being on TV and how that works, I think we'll see a lot of improvement from her.
And I feel like we've said before on this show, probably on Never Drew a Dime when we talked about this stuff, Drew, the show that hasn't aired yet because YouTube sucks dicks. This wasn't meant to be her. And I think we know who we're talking about. The newest employee of Impact, Smiley Kylie.
Absolutely. I think we talked about this before. I'm not going to, spend my time theorizing, but I'd really love to know what kind of what made her lose her smile on AEW, but then immediately come back everywhere else.
It's such a rabbit hole right now with rumors and Brandy and Cody and shit like that it's I don't even want to really get into it at all. But Colin, do you think the beginning of this match was kind of dog shit?
It definitely took a bit to take off, but I think by the end of the match they had everyone in the crowd, on the edge of their seat, trying to see what happens. And I think the ending itself was fantastic with Rio rolling up Baker's crossface into the pin. I think it was a fantastic ending.
Drew, I feel like the crowd was a little more for Riho at the beginning of this, but by the end, I feel like Britt had her fans definitely. It was kind of more Britt wanted to see to get the upset here. Is Riho going to work for you?
Yeah, like what? And I can say first, like when you have the face versus face match like that, they executed that pretty well. If you have a crowd that's going back and forth between the two of them, so applaud for that for the both of them. I would say she's going to work so far because she's worked so far. So, I mean, until there's a billion reasons why I can pick out why it shouldn't work, but it has, and the crowd's really over for her. So, until she gives me a reason otherwise, like, cool, keep it going.
What do you think, Colin? What say you?
I mean, Rio's clearly working out. Like, AEW's working out for Rio, and Rio's working out for AEW. I heard from Sean Ross Sapp on Twitter. He worked for Fightful. That's the one who worked for Fightful.
Yeah.
Apparently, Rio only had a 5-match contract with AEW, and now this was her 7th, or it was a 5-appearance contract, and this was her 7th. So clearly things are working out on every single end with them, and plus, she's the women's champion. That being said, I don't want to see Rio drop the belt in a couple of weeks and then just disappear entirely, because I think Rio could easily be one of the biggest stars of their women's division.
Maybe I fucked myself over when I listened to the shoot interview clip on the Jim Cornette Experience like a week or two ago when he was talking about comparing Riho to Wing. You remember that episode in South Park? Wing, the singer, the Asian lady? Yeah, remember that? He did, and he called Kenny Omega like her pimp or her boyfriend or whatever, and I can't unsee that. But she's got she works like Kairi Sane, this reckless underdog style, which I can appreciate, and I feel like she does a good job of. Did you see that news where New Japan owns Stardom now or something, by the way, that dropped today?
It's the
Bushi Road.
Yeah, the parent company or whatever.
Something like that?
Yeah. I guess they have no direct relation except that they're both owned by the same company or whatever.
Yeah, that's the thing. Bushi Road owns, it's the parent company of New Japan. They now own Stardom, but I still don't think there's any partnership with those two or anything like that. They're just now owned by the same people. I am curious as to if that's going to affect Bea Priestley's contract with AEW.
Right.
Now that there's going to be, because I believe there's going to be a TV deal, bigger TV deal for Stardom now. So I'm curious how that's going to affect Bea Priestley's contract with AEW and how often she can make appearances, because she is the Women of Stardom champion.
For me, I kind of feel like they're just getting Baker ready to take it from Riho, because I don't feel like, I'm glad you brought that up, I don't feel like she's sticking around for long. I feel like she was a great way to kick off a new title if they're going to showcase her like this, make her look strong, make her have pretty good matches. And she's a name obviously in Japan, so she's got the credibility in a way.
And with that being said, what's the girl that she went up against at All
Nyla
Out?
Rose.
Nyla Rose.
No.
No,
Sheeta.
Mm-hmm.
So she is. I was just reading somewhere on Twitter. She's actually in the process of moving to the States right now. So apparently, some of them are moving over here permanently to.
There you go.
Do the thing.
And I'm glad she's doing that, because I was a big fan of Sheeta in that match. It was Hikaru Sheeta, something like that. She impressed me a lot. She was who I was rooting for by the end of the match, and I'm definitely excited to see her back in AEW when that time comes.
I know she's not in AEW, but I have yet to bring her up on any podcast, and I keep kicking myself when I go to edit these things, and I never do. My female wrestler to look out for next year, keep your eye on, is Shotzi Blackheart. She's tremendous, and I know she's evolved and probably going to NXT, but I always keep meaning to bring her up. But I feel like for whoever gets her right now is very lucky, because, God, she's going to be a star. Calling it.
That's awesome.
No, absolutely, yeah. She's fantastic. Just got. I don't know if she's. I think she's signed. But yeah, William Regal came out, offered her a contract. Probably means she's already signed one. Definitely someone to look out for.
And that's the thing. And I hate to say this because the matches haven't been bad, but when we discuss AEW's women's division, I find my mind wandering off thinking about other promotions' women's division, because there's not a lot of meat to it right now. Let's be real. And I know get the fucking marks on Twitter and stuff when they get in their Civil War, pal. When it's WWE versus AEW, they're always like, the women's division's awful. No, it's not. It's the future. These women are revolutionary. It's just, Jesus Christ, shut up. But at the end of the day, it's like, it is what it is. Not the strongest. WWE has the best women's roster in the entire world right now. Sans Japan and Stardom and shit like that. I'm talking North American promotions, basically. That's what I meant.
I mean, I would still, I might be wrong. I don't watch a whole lot of Japanese women's wrestling. Probably should. Don't have the time. I still say they could probably compete with the best of them over in Japan. I think WWE's women's division, by far, one of the best there is.
For sure. It is what it is. And right here, it's just, this match got me thinking about the future of this division. But when I think about possible, like if Britt Baker, they are getting her ready for, when Riho leaves, who's she going to feud with? Well, then where do we go? Stuff like that. And there's not a lot to work with in my eyes. But we'll see. Hopefully they turn it around. They bring some people in.
Well, they have been setting up Britt Baker and Bea Priestley for, months at this. That rivalry's kind of been spanning before AEW started and anything like that. So, that's obviously one you got right off the bat.
I know they have Awesome Kong, and I get it. And Nyla Rose is a heel now. Nyla Rose definitely could be in the title picture. Britt Baker, Nyla Rose, for sure. But, man, can Awesome Kong really get it like she used to in the ring? No, she can't.
Yeah, I think she's more backstage at this point. Like maybe just like the occasional pop appearance kind of thing. But.
Yeah.
Well, she is a coach for AEW, so I'm sure she's probably doing both, but mostly as a coach there.
Yeah.
Here, and by the way, next week, Dynamite's episode takes place in the hometown of Britt Baker, Pittsburgh. So look for that. Sure, she'll be knowing promotions track records with putting wrestlers in their hometown. She's going to lose. Maybe AEW really will be the alternative. Up next
I wonder if they'll overblow that a little bit just to.
Yeah.
Look, she won.
Right. She actually won in her hometown. Imagine that. Wink, wink. Up next is probably the most divisive topic of Dynamite this week, surprisingly. The fact that this little man, Marco Stunt, how dare he step in a ring. Guys, it's time. The Jurassic Express. In my eyes, this is the main event of the show right here, because this is what everyone's been bitching about. Blah, blah, blah. I might surprise you again this week, Colin. You never know. I'll leave it a mystery. What'd you think of the, quote, Jurassic Express versus the Lucha Bros, Colin?
Lucha Bros already just very established, very great team. I remember watching Lucha Underground for the first time. Pentagon Jr. has always been one of my favorites. Stuck out immediately. And with Jurassic Express, Luchasaurus, that's what I was trying to go for. The former Judas Devlin, I believe, in NXT. He was, I think he's just fantastic. I think he could be a good, feel-good single star to, win the title at some point or win a secondary title whenever they introduce that, if they ever do. I think Jungle Boy, Luke Perry's son, also really good. Jurassic Express is one of the most underrated tag teams in AEW, I feel like, if not the most underrated tag team. And unfortunately, Luchasaurus had a hamstring injury that might keep him out for a couple of months, unfortunately. But so they had to replace him with Marco Stunt. And it's funny that they've had two teams in this tournament who have had to have someone replaced almost immediately. Both teams have that third guy, which is handy. Granted, the SCU one probably planned that way. This one not so much. But yeah, and I think Marco Stunt is also, for his size, he doesn't get enough credit for how good he can be. I do remember watching the match where he broke both of his legs, and that was a good match. It was a great match up until that particular moment. So yeah, no, I like this match. I think it showcased how Marco Stunt, just because of his size, can still work with everyone else and can still put up a good match.
Yeah, I feel like people were totally blowing this out of proportion. I feel like at the end of the day, this is pro wrestling. And as long as it's booked logically, I can roll with it. I can work with this. And you know what? It's not like he's out there flipping guys with his penis or just all this shit. It's not like he was out there power bombing guys. He was out there working like his size, Drew. And I feel like if I can accept shit back in the day, and I know people hate it when you compare Rey Mysterio to guys, but I mean, it is what it is. I didn't have a problem with this, like I thought I might.
End of the day, it was a good match, and that's all that matters. Good match.
Now, if they push him to the title, or we I don't know. There's
if something picks up steam and they get a lot of like reaction and they have consistent good matches, then yeah, fuck it.
I love that spot where they tossed him around and he transitioned it into like a tornado DDT from Phoenix onto Pentagon. I was like, what just happened? But it just worked in a way for me. I was looking for plot holes here and psychology wise, and I couldn't find them because I was like, well, you know what? He's doing it just how he should, I guess, for his size and.
And when he got hit, he flopped. Like he took it like somebody his size would.
No.
And I will say, I follow someone on Twitter who saw that spot and just was not a fan. I mean, they don't seem like they've been a fan of AEW at all. So, I mean, for what it's worth, for how many people are, like, trying to praise AEW and, like, crap on WWE all the time, they also have the same thing in reverse. They have plenty of people who are, like, these WWE diehards who are trying to bury AEW straight off the bat. And they weren't a fan of this spot, and I thought, it might look rehearsed, but at the same time, the match is so good that when you're watching it live for the first time, you're into the match. You don't care. You see this, and you're just like, holy crap, that was amazing.
The best part, the sweetest piece, biggest slice of that pie after Daddy gets off work and the family dinner. No, Daddy gets the biggest piece. You know what that is? These fucking WWE defenders. When they talk about shit like Marco's stunt, right? They praise in their fucking philosophy great matches from years like 1992. Shit like that. Well, it's pro wrestling, so a guy can make another guy have a voodoo curse on another guy and puke up black shit. Or, hey, I shoot lightning powers because my brother burned me in a cemetery. Or, hey, this dead guy gets raised up from a fucking urn for 20 years, but that's cool. That's all right. This guy, he's too short to ride the roller coaster. We can't accept this. He has no muscles. What the fuck? It's supposed to be, it's not, if you want to watch fucking amateur wrestling where you just want everything to be legitimate and the way it was and all that shit, then go watch it. It's pro wrestling. It's televised, nationally televised pro wrestling on top of it. This isn't Ring of Honor, New Japan, any of that shit. This is WCW 2019. You're going to get shit like this because if you can praise shit from a year like 1998, what the fuck are you doing bitching about this? Rant over, Colin.
Off the bat, you popped me with the Papa Shango reference. I have the Papa Shango tattoo, and you got him with that. I was like, beautiful. You had me sold there straight off the bat. But yeah, no, exactly. I mean, you can't praise old gimmicks like The Undertaker and everything like that, but then go and just call someone, oh, he's too short, so it's not believable. Who cares? It's pro wrestling. I hate saying this, and I hate when other people say it, but I'm going to say it. It's fake. We watch it because it's entertaining. We watch it because we like the characters. But at the end of the day, it's it's glorified theater. So, who cares if the person who's shorter than his other opponents is winning the match? It can happen.
If Greg Gagne can win a title in a major promotion, there's no reason that Marco Stunt can't. Come on.
Now that's fun. Now I'll turn that show off.
Marco Stunt has bigger muscles than Greg Gagne.
And a bigger foot.
Does it, in your eyes, Drew, because I know you're like me, we love our old school, and at the end of the day, I know you and I are purists. Let's admit it. Let's do that right now. Hand to God, bro. But I feel like we're accepting and open-minded. Do you have a problem with Marco's stunt?
I watched the Bushwhackers and thought it was perfectly fine.
There you go.
Yeah, you can't watch a tag team go out and lick people's heads and then just look at someone who's 5'2" and just say, oh, don't like it.
A clown, a man that thought he was a boat, that went, dink. All that shit.
Yeah.
Doink.
No, and let's be honest about all this stuff we're even talking about. And on top of all this, Marco's a good wrestler. Like, he's good at what he does. Like, and we're talking about a bunch of funny gimmicks where those guys weren't even good.
And I know I brought him up earlier. I don't feel like the ECW crowd ever had a problem with Mikey Whipwreck. I feel like he was always over.
So over.
After they pulled that trigger, the first time he beat Austin for the title, or I think was Austin he beat, right, in 95. Ever since then, he was in a tag team with Tajiri. People fucking loved him, and he was just a fatter version of Marco Stunt.
And that's what you're going to have with these three guys, at least for the near future anyways. Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus and Marco, is they're all going to have that, like, they are the purest good guys in the company. Like, they are those guys that everybody's just always going to cheer on.
It entertained the shit out of me. It didn't jump the shark. It wasn't some cocky British fuck in the egg dome fucking killing guys with elbows being reckless. I liked it, and it was fine. It was fun pro wrestling. It was good comedy in pro wrestling, which is always refreshing in this day and age after some of the dark ages of Hornswoggle and shit like that. This was anti-Hornswoggle, and that's always a good thing. Let's move it on before we make the entire show about...
Real quick. I bet the same people who were saying Marco Stunt's too short, it's not believable, are probably the same people who are like marking out when the Fiend makes his entrance.
Right?
Jon Moxley, the Bastard Pac versus Kenny Omega, Adam Page, both, it was kind of a cross way to...
Awesome.
I liked it. I liked it a lot. It was a good way. It's always a cheap kind of way out on just, I don't want to say filler show, but a weekly episodic program, pal. A good way to cross two storylines together.
Not to jump in so quick, but how about having two guys that are supposed to be at each other's throats, and like you can tell right from the beginning as soon as they hit the like area within each other, like these two guys, they're not going to be like, oh, we're in a tag match now, so like we're just going to like back off a little bit. Like you could, they gave you that sense, you know?
Yeah. You know what I also love, which is very rare when there's a heel tag team or there's tension on that side, because you never really see that, and there was in this match.
That was awesome too.
It was a fantastic match.
All the psychology that was just so freaking simple and obvious, and all of it made sense, even the littlest things.
I'll pose you guys a question. Might be controversial. Who knows? Do you think Adam Page is losing traction?
No, I just don't think he has any story going at the moment, I guess.
I disagree. I think the story is the fact that he has been losing and everything like that. I think this match was a good refresher with giving Adam Page something, because, and I've talked about this on the show before, I believe, if you let Page lose too much, it's just going to get to the point where, like, why do I care about this guy? He's just going to lose again. It doesn't matter. So you have him win this match, regardless of if it's because Ambrose turned on, or Moxley turned on Pac. I was about to say Neville would kill me. But yeah, so even if it's, like that, it gives him a win, which gives him a little bit more credit now. It also sets up Moxley versus Pac next week. So, and that's going to be a phenomenal match.
Yeah. Well, I meant like crowd-wise. Do you think he's losing? Like crowd reaction, like during his entrance and like when they announced him and stuff like that.
Maybe a little, but with like everything that's happening right now, I guess it's kind of hard to tell sometimes, just because it's all so like still new and the crowd's popping for every other thing that's on there, just like
Yeah, he's kind of just like multiverse Seth Rollins. He's like their Seth Rollins, kind of blonde, kind of
not as annoying.
Not as annoying at all. But
by the way, I like him and Dustin.
I did. They were a great fucking team. We said that last week. For some reason, you wouldn't think they would have chemistry like that, but they did. It was a kick-ass match.
It's a cowboy thing.
It's Tex thing, man.
Whoever mentioned, God, I love Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone. One of them mentioned Adam Page reminded him of Barry Windham, and they went into that rant about Dustin Rhodes and Barry Windham. I'm like, fuck yes.
I still love, and that's what's putting it over the top for me with this whole feeling of, if I flip or I just do that just side by side comparison with NXT, it's that nostalgic feeling of having Tony Schiavone on TNT again is just blowing my mind, and I just can't believe it's even happening.
You can tell those guys are just like talking, like they sometimes they say shit, and you're just like, oh shit, they just say that, but like they got free reign to say whatever.
A lot of people gave him shit, Colin, about how there wasn't a DQ and they brought up the barbed wires and stuff. I don't remember him connecting. I don't remember him actually during the match.
Well, there was one hit, I believe. I think Moxley hit Omega. I won't swear to it. And I'll get to it later with the Jericho versus Darby Allin match. But yeah, the referee discretion thing should probably be explained, I think, because there seems to be a lot of it. And they do it a lot in New Japan. They'll have singles matches, and usually it's Suzuki will just start bashing people with chairs, and the ref is like, yeah, I'll allow it. So, I mean, if they're doing that in AEW, it's something that should be explained at some point, I feel like, just because, I noticed a lot that, not to fast forward too much, but with the rope breaks in the street fight, in the main event, I thought, it's a street fight. Why are there rope breaks?
They need to kind of pick a side of the fence, Drew. What the fuck they need to. ECW kind of gave you that where there's no real rules here kind of thing, and you kind of knew guys could get away with shit. Now, is it that one way or the other?
Yeah, I think it's like during the tag team match when they grabbed the barbed wire stuff, the referee bailed.
Yeah.
Like he just dove out of the ring. So at that point, I think Moxley hit him once with the end of the bat, but the referee was on the floor at that point, where he ran away. So I think that stuff's okay as long as they're keeping that referee didn't see it kind of thing going, like any other match. I think that's cool.
Yeah, but the rope break in a street fight, which we'll get to here.
I don't think they did the rope break though. He just eventually got off of him. But I don't think the referee was yelling at him.
Oh no, Aubrey Edwards was doing the 5 count, which confused me, but
maybe she fucked up.
Well, they did.
She just fucked up.
Well,
she fucked up.
We'll get to that when we'll get to that when we talk about the main event.
Which I didn't hate, by the way. I love this match. I thought this might have been match of the night. Was match of the night for me.
Hangman Page and
yes.
the tag team match and everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good shit.
Definitely a phenomenal match.
And now we're getting, after the match, we had Pac, or Moxley flipped off Pac, and, the attack and all that shit. Now we're getting those two next week on Dynamite. Is that too soon? Because that's something I might have built up to.
I think it's had a pretty decent build up because this isn't the first week they've kind of teased Moxley and Pac going at it. So I think next week's probably a good time to do it.
Yeah, and just they gotta keep this TV show going somehow too. So
right, and incentive for people to tune in and just. By the way, I think this was Pac's first loss, and I also love the fact now, especially because he's a heel in promos, you can say, "It took 3 of you to beat me." You know what I mean?
Yeah. Did you notice too? It really got me kind of I squint a little bit when I saw him. He grabbed the barbed wire bat from Moxley, but he grabbed it by the barbed wire.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
ripped his hand open. I was
yeah.
Oh.
Pulled a Sabu, basically. And that was that. And we're almost at full gear, and I think that's going to be a really good match, Moxley and Omega. Honestly, yeah. World
getting built up for weeks. When's the last time you saw that? Weeks and weeks.
Yeah. And 2 guys that I feel like can deliver. They have the experience to deliver on big stages. A 16,000 seat arena is nothing for these guys,
It's definitely going to be a good match because with Omega and Moxley, I'm curious what would have been going on right now if that match took place as scheduled, because that would have been a lot of this wouldn't be happening. I don't feel like, because Omega and Pac have had the kind of ongoing animosity from their match and everything else, and now you've been able to build Omega and Moxley a little bit more. So I definitely think it worked out in the end with the injuries and everything like that.
Yeah. I wonder if it was just a flip-flop, it would have been Omega and Pac at Full Gear.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Since Moxley's been out of the E and New Japan in his time this year, do you think he's a different guy when you watch him, or do you still pretty much see the same psychology antics? Or when you watch him, it's kind of just he is, quote, alive again, and he's kind of working like he did on the indies back in the day with passion?
I think watching Moxley now, I still see singles Moxley from WWE, but at the same time, it's still this Moxley looks like he's enjoying what he's doing and is actually having fun.
Yeah, and I think because they're putting what they want into it, I think his work looks a lot better when the psychology makes sense. So now that he can kind of run that side of the show and do the psychology himself in ring, even the smallest things, like it just something that makes a lot more sense, more cohesive. It's always going to look better.
It's amazing what can happen for a guy when there's no shackles, too. No corporate fucking shackles. Let's be real.
Just go wrestle.
Just go wrestle. Get yourself over, kid. Main event time, world title match. Philadelphia street fight, pal. Chris Jericho, Darby Allin. This was exactly what I thought it was going to be. Pretty much. I think we even predicted Hager running interference in this, and this will lead to their feud down the line, Colin.
I don't know. I didn't recall. I don't know if we did that or not. But
I did. I'm pretty sure. We'll go with that. We'll go with that.
No, I think I had a lot of good praise to say about this match on Twitter when this match was happening, when it was done. I think if Darby Allin has ever had a breakout match, this was it. I knew Darby Allin was good. I've seen some of his Evolve work. I think he made a very smart decision signing with AEW and not NXT. I can't say enough good things about this. This was my favorite match of the night. This was my match of the night. I think this match kicked ass. I think Darby Allin is hands down, and this doesn't even have to be an underdog story. I fully think Darby Allin is world title material, at least as far as AEW is concerned. This is a fantastic match.
Drew?
Yeah, I thought it was great too. Like I said, the last match before this was really good, but this one was. It's just so weird to talk about a show that's just a TV weekly show that has, like, that match was great, but this match was great too. So I don't know which one was better, but no, I loved it. I loved all the gimmicky street fight stuff and the tape, and he hadn't done that in AEW yet, so the tape to wrist was awesome, and he got to show off all those moves. Everything connected real well. There wasn't anything like botched or anything, which is always nice. And yeah, it just flowed. I liked how the interference was at the end. It was at the end. Like, Hager wasn't like out there creeping around the ring the entire match and teasing it. It just like came out of nowhere all of a sudden. So there wasn't that just like, oh, I know this is going to happen. So even though it didn't feel stale and stupid. Like, it really kind of worked. So
it did a great job of fully. This match invested me to the point where, like, I kind of fantasy booked it in episode 2 last week, Travis, where I said that, like, I'd like to see Darby Allin win this match, kind of have that surprise, like, underdog win. And near the end, I was almost convinced, like, oh my God, he's actually going to do it. And when he got on the top rope for the last time, and then Hager pushed him off, I thank God my roommates weren't around, and there were no kids around. For those who don't know, I work at a camp. So I literally screamed, God damn it! Like, why? Because I was super behind Darby Allin getting this win, and Hager and this whole thing did a great job of making me not like Hager because he's a heel, making me want to root for Darby Allin more. Jericho's kind of like, he's a fighting champion, but he's also kind of like a cocky heel that tries to get out any way he can. And yeah, I think it was a fantastic ending to the match. I mean, I might not have liked it at the time, but in hindsight, this was a great way to, like, still show that Darby Allin could have easily won.
And he has a good record still.
Absolutely.
A lot of people bitched about how Jericho took all this abuse from Allin while his hands were bound and how it wasn't believable. At the end of the day, for me, his gimmick's a skateboarder. His body's used to taking damage, and his finisher is a coffin drop. He doesn't need to use his arms for it either way. So it made sense for me. It's another case like Marco Stunt where he worked like he should for what his gimmick and his size is, and he's got this weird hybrid style for me, and he's one of the smoothest, reckless. It's just weird. It's weird, but I like it. And I think after this match, especially, like I keep saying week after week, I think he's hands down on his way, if he's not already, their version of Jeff Hardy.
You can tell that the coaches they have behind the scenes are A+. Like, whoever's helping put all these matches together and everything. Like, good shit.
It's just DDP lining them up.
Dislocate his shoulder every time he did the dives and the coffin drops with his hand. Like, I fully thought he did a one. Like, I was wincing at the fact that he kept landing the way he did.
How about the bound wrists onto the skateboard?
Oh God!
How about the finish and the lion tamer?
Yeah. Yeah. Ow.
And then the inner circle, the show goes off there having a little bit of the bubbly.
That was a cool way to go off.
I feel like it's especially fitting with the catchphrase and stuff, but it has an evolution feel to it. Not that it's evolution, but just that,
NWO, even like going off the air with the heels celebrating.
That was episode 3 from Philly. That's what they gave us, gentlemen. Like I said, nothing really to bitch about. That Britt Baker match was kind of rough around the edges, but besides that, guys,
very fast 2 hours.
Yeah, again.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The best wrestling shows are always the ones that fly by. Been saying that for years. Colin, what do you grade this episode this week?
This is my favorite episode by far. It gets an A out of me, hands down.
Drew Ortman, what do you give AEW Dynamite?
I have to give it an A too this week because I just don't have that much negative to say about it. And what I do, it's small.
I give it an A-. I'm right there. The only thing keeping it from an A is I'm not too sure about that Britt Baker match again, honestly.
Yeah, I can agree.
And just being soured on people bitching about Marco's stunt and dumb shit. I got to get over that.
I give them a D.
I give them a fuck
The
you.
people.
Yeah. Drew, one more time, thank you, man, for coming on The Alternative, being our very first guest. Not your first rodeo on here and with me, but one more time. For anyone that doesn't know, where can everyone find you?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. At Drew Ortman on Twitter, at KFABE Today, at PW Journal, ProWrestlingJournal.com, PW Journal on Instagram, Pro Wrestling Journal on MySpace, and AOL Instant Messenger, and MSN, whatever that thing was called, Hotmail bullshit. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Meltzer and Keller are a bunch of ankle biters. Pro Wrestling Journal has the best writers. Get over there and check them out now. Drew, thank you again, man. Colin, we are so consistent. I'm so proud of us. Week 3 in the books. One more time. Thank you up from North Camp Candy, wherever you're at, for joining us. Where can everyone catch you?
Follow me on Twitter at UberTieGuy. Always tweet about wrestling. That's where you can.
Wait, do you even get the Camp Candy reference real quick?
No, I really
God
didn't.
damn it, Colin. God damn it. Look it up after the show. Plug your shit.
To be fair, we started the show because of the age difference and the fact that we're 2 very different wrestling fans. That's what we're here for. Me missing all the references. Follow me on Twitter at UberTieGuy. Hit me up on Instagram. That'll be in the description or not. I don't care either way. And make sure, most importantly, if you don't do anything else, make sure to hit subscribe and like this video. Share it with your friends. Get us out there. Get us out there because Brandy Rhodes is coming for our brand. Travis, she is launching an actual AEW branded podcast, and we are still going to have to send her a cease and desist because this is the only one that should be around.
Didn't want to get into it. Didn't want it to get ugly. Didn't want to get lawyers involved. I fired my shots, waiting on theirs. My armor's up. My HP's maxed out. I'm leveled. I'm capped. I'm ready to go. You want to start a war?
Brandy.
You want to start a war? You know where you can start one. On Twitter, at the Hibiki TMD. As always, like Colin said, hit that little red button right down below. All the best retro gaming and pro wrestling. Brandy Rhodes, fuck you. We're the OGs. We're the originals. This is The Alternative. Until next week, see you then.